Good afternoon. Should I start?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the economics optional workshop that we are having. Uh, as you know, choosing a correct optional subject is one of the toughest decisions that you have to take while preparing for this exam, because except this decision, nothing is something that you need to choose. Okay, your prelims exam, as unpredictable as it can be. Okay, even in the mains examination, most of the things are something which is not in your hand. So the papers are compulsory, all questions are compulsory. Okay, essay paper, again nothing much, except you have some choices, but it is again in the optional subject that is where the main point of choosing comes in, and that is why you should spend enough time to choose the correct optional. I'm not telling just about economics, but any optional that you are choosing, you should be spending a lot of time. So with this, let's start with our brief discussion on. It may go on depending upon how many questions you will be having. Okay, so we have a few offline students, and most of you are online, as I can see. And as we'll proceed, we'll be having the discussions on that. I want it to be more informal discussion beyond a point, but having a little presentation helps us to keep it systematic. So let me introduce myself. I am Shyam Sundar. Many of you who are doing GS would be aware of that. And this is just a brief introduction. I know that's something which is less important than the your choice. Okay, so I've been alumnus of Delhi School of Economics, or DSC, and just for information, that I had qualified the Indian Economic Service way back in 2007, and since then I've been in the career of teaching. I've been teaching at University of Delhi for a number of years, and here also in GS courses as well as the optional ones. So with this, we formally begin with our main discussion on the presentation. So what are the main highlights of the presentation? We'll talk about, in general, what are the basic requirements that you should be fulfilling if you are taking economics as an optional subject. Okay, so that you are not misled by so-called rumors about economics as an optional. And connected to that, we'll also focus on some kind of myths related to economics, and what are the realities. How can I help you? That's equally important in handling the subject. Then we come to the structure of the papers. There are two papers in all optional. So economics is also where we have two papers. What about syllabus, nature of questions, marks, etc. That we'll be discussing. Then towards the end, we'll talk about the relevance of this subject in your GS. Okay. Well, this should not be the only criterion for choosing an optional, but that also helps. That to what extent in other part of GS, prelims, mains, maybe essay, etc., will be needing help from economics. And then we'll wind up with a brief reading list, which many students would like to have before they join the classes, etc. So for that matter. So what I'll do, I'll take some parts of our discussion, let's say the first 2 points through presentation. Then I'll take some doubts from you. Okay, if you have anything, you can keep on noting down the points, and then we'll go to the remaining part and then take all the other doubts. That is how we'll be going towards the presentation. So starting with the basic requirements. Okay, the first and most important thing is that if you are choosing an optional, better to choose that subject which is your background. Okay, so clearly that is the link, that if you are having economics background, definitely you should be very seriously choosing it. Also, that is not the sufficient criterion. Okay, those who know the language of mathematics and economics, it's kind of a necessary and sufficient criterion. Sufficient criterion again is that you should have interest in that particular subject. I have seen not many students, but some of them who have no economics background yet, they talk about, they have much better comfort level in doing economics. So I would particularly encourage them more and more, okay, for whatever reason. Okay, maybe in their engineering course they would have done a couple of papers on economics. Many of such cases are there. So both background and interest should be given the priority. Okay, the next thing is that how do you know? This discussion is about how do you know any subject, not just economics. You can go through the NCERT book, and this is applicable to any optional, including history or geography or political science, etc. That gives you the basic idea behind what that subject is about. But finally, it should be you only who should make the selection, rather than getting influenced by say so-called market rumors, etc., that are there. Okay, that's also important. uh, Clearly the significance of subject for prelims and mains should be one of the criterion, but I would call it not the top priority, because many a times the nature of questions on a subject in prelims, etc., may not be exactly the same as that in the optional. I'm just trying to make things clear. So if you are choosing, let's say, even economics optional, thinking that exactly similar question will come in prelims, then you are misguided. And whoever tells that their subject related questions directly come in prelims, it's not actually the case. Prelims questions are becoming more and more unpredictable, even in mains, but prelims more often. Okay, and then clearly a statistical factor should be kept in mind, as in how many number of students are appearing with that optional. Can you see, statistically speaking, that defines your competition. Okay, so that is also an important factor that you should be keeping in mind. This is in general, not just about economics, but in general what you should keep in mind. Let's now come to economics, as in how do you know that you are having interest in economics? You can go through NCERT books, as I told you, mainly focusing on the graphs. Okay, and you will not be wasting your time, because most of it is needed for GS as well. So for example, in GS also, macroeconomics NCERT is generally supposed to be covered. Okay, so in that way, if you are doing it and even you don't choose the economics as an optional, it will be helpful. Sometimes microeconomics related questions also come in GS, although I generally do not advise it for non-economics background student, but you can go through it for finding whether the subject is of your interest. Another thing that you can do is newspaper reading, where they keep on giving many articles related to economics. Okay, you will see that a lot of things which is happening in geopolitical situation is fundamentally linked to economics. Okay, be it availability of, say, crucial raw material like crude oil, or the value of currency changing. Okay, most of this is linked to economics related current affairs. So if these current affairs are very attractive to you, okay, you want to go into more detail and look at it in a broader spectrum, then again economics is one of your can be one of your optional. Okay, just a clarification is that stock market trading or any kind of bond share trading, etc., is not linked to economics optional. So I should make that also clear, because there are some people who think that since they are interested in trading in shares or bonds, etc., therefore they can do very well in economics. So I would have to say that it is not correct, because even in syllabus, etc., there is not much link with the share markets, etc., or you need not be a very good investor for choosing this optional. Basically, that is the clarification that I wanted to make. Actually, on the other hand, there are some students who are very bad at trading. Okay, they may not get a lot of profit, but otherwise they are very good student of economics. So you decide on that basis whether you should take it or not. Okay, I'm coming to that. Whether you have, if you have till standard 12th economics, can you choose it or not? I'm coming to all that one by one. Okay. And one more thing, any kind of scams, etc., are not dealt with in the optional subject. For that matter, even in GS paper, due to one or the other problems in different sectors, banking, share market, uh, every now and then you will find some kind of scam, and they cover a lot of newspaper, you can say, space. But uh, in optional or even in GS, that is not important. That's a general advice to you. Okay. Let's now come to that. Okay, fine. This is in continuation only, that what you should look into. When we are discussing the two paper syllabus, etc., and you are curious enough to know more about it, that is another indication that economics is an optional for you. Okay. And one of the arguments which make economics closer to science, and that is why we sometimes see many science background students also finding themselves comfortable doing economics, is that economics is, although social science, but it approaches any issue in a very objective and analytical manner. Okay. So that makes it more science like. Okay. It relies on evidences. Evidences can be number, it can be the historical aspects, etc. Okay. Examples I'll be giving you that way. Then on the other extreme, if there are social science students, let's say coming from background like history, geography, political science, okay, uh, even if they are very much interested towards economics, it's a good optional, because uh, one part of economics is very much sensitive to social welfare, etc. In fact, we have separate discussion on welfare economics and so on. Okay. Which makes it very much linked to the social science student also. Therefore, all in all, if your personality is a combination of both, a kind of someone who is good enough in analytical reasoning, plus someone who is also good enough in terms of looking at the welfare aspects. Okay. Economics optional provides a very good combination to that. So for example, if you look into many other optional, some of them are too analytical, say mathematics, etc., or most of the science subjects. Some of them are too descriptive. Okay. uh, uh, like most of the social sciences, economics is a good combination of that. Okay. And we'll discuss that in the syllabus part also, why am I telling all that. Now let's come to, okay, just a second. Hold on, there was a page. Yes, I think I had missed this page, so let's go back. Who can choose economics optional? Some questions are coming there on that also. Clearly, if you are having graduation in economics or anything related to economics, it can be business economics, or it can be say environmental economics. Everything I have not quoted here. Okay. uh, Economics is a good optional for them. Okay. So I would strongly suggest that anyone who is graduate in economics or related things should definitely choose it. Okay. Because since they took it for graduation, it is the proof that it was an area of interest from them, for them. Okay. Because getting economics as a subject in graduation is not easy. Okay. Compared to the other subjects, you need relatively more marks in your standard 12th, etc. So if you have done graduation in economics from more or less any university of this country, okay, one thing is clear, that in that university, your overall marks in standard 12th, etc., should have been in the upper decile or quartile at least. Okay. If you understand the language of statistics, so that means you are interested in that. Okay. And since you are both capable, you have background, you are interested, you should definitely choose. Then comes the second level. Some people who are having degrees like BCom, BA program, BBA, MBA, or even BTech or particularly the first ones, BCom, BBA, etc. Generally, they definitely do a few papers on economics, like micro, macro, generally is covered in any BCom course or BA program if economics is there as a subject. And nowadays, it is very common in engineering programs also, BTech, BE, that some part of papers are related to economics. So that is why I said that these people can also choose it. In fact, paper one is very much scientific in its approach. Therefore, all the more if you are connected with science background, you will be finding it easier. Okay. And similarly, the paper two is more linked to the descriptive part of it. That is something which makes it easier for those who are having social science background. Okay. So it's like three layers, three levels of three types of students who can go for economics optional. One, those who are formally having background in that. Okay. Second, those who have done some papers on economics, typically commerce graduates, etc. And third layer can be more from science background or other social science background who have not done economics maybe. Still, they may be having profound interest in the subject. So that is how you can take up your decision related to that. Okay. I think this part we had done already. I had missed the page on that. Now let's come to myths versus realities. I'll take some doubts after it. Okay. Perhaps the most common myth is that economics has a vast and dynamic syllabus. Okay. Look, to some extent, I will agree with vast. Okay. I don't want to keep you in dark. The syllabus is significant, and that is why we take approximately 6 months. Okay, minimum 6 months I would be needing in order to finish the syllabus, because we won't rush through. Okay, we'll do it slowly and gradually. So that is time taking in that way. But clearly it is not dynamic. First of all, let's come back to vast again. Even if the syllabus is vast, most of the optional syllabus is relatively vast. So if you are just trying to select something which is very less in syllabus, you will be finding hardly 2 or 3 optional subjects out there. I won't name them, I shouldn't. But then again, if you are not having interest in that, what's the point? Okay, even if the syllabus is small, but you are not having interest in that paper, it will not be fulfilling your purpose. Because remember, even in optional paper, they keep on asking some unique questions. Okay, unique questions you will be able to answer only if you have interest in that subject. Are you getting the point? And those unique questions cannot be easily predictable. So keep that also in mind. Economics clearly is not dynamic. Okay, let me explain through the reality over here. By dynamic, what do we mean? Something which keeps on changing. Okay, typically the current affairs part is what we call dynamic. The paper one of economics optional is completely static, in the sense that it is a theoretical paper. It's where we do economic theories, and most of these economic theories have been given decades ago, sometimes even centuries ago. Are you getting the point? So many of these theories are coming from 19th century or early 20th century. There is nothing dynamic about it, frankly speaking. Yes, what may happen is that as a sub part of a question, they may expect you to link it with the Indian economy. But even that is not necessarily dynamic, as in linked to the current affairs. Okay. As far as paper 2 is concerned, there may be some questions which are dynamic, but most of them are not. Okay, you can go through the PYQs, although when we do the classes, we'll do the PYQs definitely. But you can go through the previous year questions of economics optional. You will see that maximum to maximum 5%, maybe 10% of questions are linked to current affairs. Okay. Otherwise, the syllabus is very static in nature. Okay, something like what happened in Indian economy before independence, after independence, okay, or after 1991, some of those things which are still decades old. Okay, I won't call them dynamic by any logic. In fact, many more dynamic things you have to do in GS part in any case. So one general clarification here: whatever current affairs you do for economics in GS preparation, okay, whatever current affairs you do while preparing for GS, that is more than enough even for optional. So even if you don't choose economics optional, in any case you have to do that. Are you getting it? So the government schemes related to different economic aspects, okay, like banking or financial inclusion or public finance related, you have to do that in any case for GS. You don't have to do it again for optional, as in the same thing can sometimes be asked, but mostly the questions are static. So clearly it is not a dynamic subject, okay, by any angle. Second myth is that only students who are coming from very renowned universities like DU, JNU, they clear. Okay. Well, again, partially I will not disagree with that. Clearly, those who are having background from a very good university, they are there because they had very good depth in that subject. So let's not underscore that also. And that increases the probability slightly that they can handle the tougher questions better. But then, as I'm clarifying here, even in the most renowned universities, be University of Delhi or JNU, because since I have been in touch of syllabus of most of these renowned, so-called renowned universities, not every, but I have taught in DU, so I am aware of what syllabus the DU has. I've also been associated in some way with the JNU syllabus, etc. So I'm largely aware of what kind of syllabus they have. Well, I think that all these syllabus are taking care of some part of syllabus of this exam, but not all. Are you getting it? So even the students of DU may not have done many things which are in the syllabus of UPSC. Okay. Similarly, many students who have done their graduation from other universities, okay, they may have done something, but not everything. So more or less, every university's syllabus, according to me, is not one-on-one mapping with the syllabus of UPSC. And that is where my role becomes, as in the teacher's role, become important. Since I'm aware of that, I keep on telling you that what is new to whom and old to whom. And accordingly, even in that way, the approach may be different. For example, there are many things which are covered in universities like DU, but with a more mathematical approach. Okay, while when you are answering the question in this exam, on the same topic, the questions will be more graphical or descriptive. Okay, your mathematical approach may not work there. Are you getting the point? So even if you have background in economics, it needs to be molded according to the need of this exam. So whatever it takes, you have to mold it. Whether you do it with my help or on your own, that's obviously another option. In fact, just to tell you about that, forget about those who are doing economics from other universities. Some of the people without background in economics have done very well. And the fact tells that some of the engineers have topped the exam. Okay, and I literally mean, for example, Gaurav Agrawal, you may have heard of, an engineer who topped the exam with economics as an optional. Okay, we have a couple of other examples as well, if not in top, but in good rank. So clearly, being a student of a good university works in your favor, no doubt about it. But then don't think that you are doing very bad if you are coming from other university. Okay. End of the day, if you are in my class, all of you are at the same level and you have to prepare that way. Okay. So this missing link between the different parts of syllabus, I'll try to complete. Myth number 3, it's highly mathematical subject. Economics is highly mathematical subject. Well, as a subject, economics has a lot of mathematics, that I agree, but in this exam, you will not need much mathematical orientation. Yes, basic mathematical aptitude is needed, that I agree. Okay. So when I say basic mathematical aptitude, I mean you should be comfortable with, let's say, equation in say one variable, or two equations in two variables, something like that, or basic calculus. I know those who have not done mathematics after standard 10th may not have done calculus. Within calculus also, there is only one part which is typically needed, the differentiation. And that is why, since I know that many students are not that good in mathematics, okay, that is why I initially devote some classes on mathematical concepts only. Okay, so when you join the batches, you will see that, say, at least two classes I devote, maybe more than that if needed, only on mathematics. No economics, only on mathematics. Whatever basic mathematics that I feel is needed, we do that in the class. The main focus is on differentiation, because that is generally the main area which most of the students are not comfortable with. Okay, basically the rest of the mathematical aptitude you need in any case if you are appearing for this exam. I hope you got the point. CSAT. Okay, so when you are going for your CSAT exam, in any case you need a lot of mathematical aptitude. I think except differentiation, okay, there is nothing new that you need compared to what you need for CSAT. And that gap again I would try to fill in when I'll be taking the class. Okay. Fourth and last one, that economics is not a scoring subject. Well, any subject can be scoring or non-scoring. It depends a lot on the students, the nature of question that year. So I agree. Many things depend upon coincidentally what type of questions are asked. So sometimes in some subject question is very tough some year and relatively easy some other year. So there is a little bit of luck factor also that works there. But other than that, we have seen in every subject low scoring students and high scoring students. In fact, there are two things which make paper one very scoring. Okay, one, that there are some mathematical questions also asked, some numericals are asked, although most of them are not compulsory. So we generally advise that those who are not comfortable can leave it. But if you attempt a mathematical question and do it well, then you can even get 100% marks. Okay, so if not 100%, definitely maybe 90-95%, which is rare in most of the optional subjects. Yes, in mathematics optional you can get, but then it's too analytical. Unless you have a very strong background in mathematics, choosing a subject like mathematics is not advisable. Fine, I'm not commenting on any particular subject, but yes, mathematics etc. is highly scoring. But even here, if there is a mathematical question, it becomes equally scoring. Okay, then graph based questions are also very scoring. Most of the questions in paper one are graph based, and many a times we have even seen that if due to some mismanagement of time, end of the day the students are not able to write each and everything that they had to in the answer, but even they draw the correct graph, the relevant graph, and just briefly explain them, then also they have got decent marks. Obviously it is not expected in every question, that will be taken as a bad aspect, but in some questions you can get good marks even if you draw the graphs etc. and briefly explain that. So basically say somewhere around 270-75 marks are attainable, and if you are doing hard work, then even 300 plus is not impossible in economics optional. Okay, let's take some doubts from you now. Syllabus etc. I'm coming to, don't worry, that is all in the second part of my presentation. So one question was about if you had economics till standard 12th, should you take it? Should you take it or not? It's finally up to you. Okay, but definitely you can, as in you have basic micro macro background, you can take it. So just apply the rule that I told you, as in how much interest is how much of your interest is towards the economics as a subject, how much current affairs related to economics kind of make you curious to go into more detail of it, and so on and so forth. Okay, But if you have some other subjects also in mind, you can be in touch with that. So I will not definitely force you, but definitely you have capacity. So even till 12th, micro macro syllabus is decent enough. Well, as far as tests are concerned, we will have test but not weekly test. Let's be clear on one thing. uh, the paper one part is a little technical. Okay, it takes time for most of the students to settle and understand what they are doing. So if I start taking test by a week, it doesn't make also much of a sense. Okay, we'll take test, we'll have test, but typically after covering one broad part. Okay, so whatever test will be required, we'll have it. I cannot guarantee you the exact timing. We'll be doing it portion by portion. Like typically when we are done with microeconomics, we'll have a test on that entire area. Similarly on macro and so on so forth. Okay. Definitely, when we'll do the classes, I'll help you understand and read the graphs. Okay. Since you asked the question, one more thing I should make it clear. There are many teachers, when they teach economics optional, they just keep the graphs in their PPT and just put it there. Something like I'm doing over here. Okay. Remember, I'm doing this discussion through the PowerPoint presentation. None of my classes will be like that. This is just to make it a little systematic, nothing else. Okay. And also those students who couldn't attend it and later on they are looking into the video, etc., they will find it a little systematic. That is the main goal. Otherwise, all the graphs, etc., will be drawing in the class. So I'll be drawing the graph in the class, and I'll expect you side by side to do that. Okay. Basically that way, one time practice you'll be doing in the class itself. Okay. And obviously the more you practice after it. So one of the common problems which many students face is that when some teacher just puts a graph which is already made before them, okay, they do not understand the steps in that. Okay, as in what they should have drawn first and then after that and so on, they miss it. That is what you will not see in my classes. I'll be drawing graph, I'll be telling you steps. In fact, if you talk to some of the old students who had taken the classes, I keep on giving some of the informal hints also, okay, which will help you draw those graphs quickly in the exam. Okay, something which goes beyond economics only, but some of the informal hints that, for example, which segment should be drawn first and then the other, so that you are likely to make less mistakes. Because we are aware that where you are likely to make mistakes in the graph also, in the mains exam, you do not have time to say draw a graph and then cross it. Neither do you have space, by the way. Okay, you have limited space also to answer. So if you draw a graph and that is not correct, even if you have drawn it in pencil, you'll have to erase it, then draw it again. Okay, that takes away a lot of your valuable time. Okay, so practicing it in the class itself will be one of the important aspects of the classes. Okay, there was a long question which I missed. What was that? Is it important to remember all the numbers in the graphs? Generally not. Okay, most of the graphs in economics are not drawn to scale. Okay, perhaps you don't have background in economics, that's why you are asking, or maybe you are not aware. But most of the graphs when we draw in microeconomics, macroeconomics, etc., they are not literally drawn to numbers or scale. So it's never like that you have that graph paper which you may have done in your schools, etc., and through scale you put everything and then draw it. No. Graphs are drawn in freehand. Okay, obviously when there is a straight line, you can take a scale and put it down. Otherwise in freehand, and there are certain concepts that should be taken into account while drawing them. As long as they are correct, no examiner is going to check it through the scale. Okay, that how is it going to work? For example, many graphs in economics are like U shape. Okay, so in that U shape, no one will check whether you drew a perfect U or a slightly tilted one. But as long as you are following that, which other graph is linked with the minimal of that U-shaped curve, then it is okay. Okay. So fine, it's good that you are thinking of doing masters, etc. Although for economics, optional masters is not needed. Uh, uh, for economic service, it is needed to do the masters. Till economics optional, you don't need any master's degree. By that matter, you may not have even economics background to take it as an option. Okay. You have done BA in economics, not very thorough with the concepts of certain topics. Precisely. Uh, that is why we are for. Okay, that is what I was trying to say. That look, what happens is that even in some of the very good universities in this country, uh, you may not be having all the teachers equally good for all the papers. That's very common, frankly speaking. Even I have been student of DU, and I can say that uh, uh, when I was also doing my graduation or post graduation, every teachers were not the best. Okay, that happens even in DU, that happens even in JNU or any renowned university. So typically that area of economics remains weaker. Okay, that will try to build up here in the class. Okay, that would be are one of the main goals. Okay, you are a political science graduate, had economics as minor, have interest in the subject, have prepared for PSIR, but you feel like switching to economics. Okay, well, I would definitely suggest if you can do that. Okay, if you think that you have more interest in economics, but then again, on these questions I cannot give you a perfect answer. Remember, for me it is just like answering for you, it's a question of your career. Okay, so you are the best judge. What I can assure you that if you have taken your decision, then I will ensure that you'll face no problem in doing economics. But after all, it's one of the toughest decisions that I told you in this exam. So that decision has to be taken by you. uh, I can tell you the basis of it. Like you should definitely go for economics optional if you are very comfortable in drawing graphs, understanding them, etc. Although we'll do these things in the class, but if something like graphs are very scary to you, since you had economics as your minor, you must have done some graphs, etc. If those graphs make you more comfortable understanding certain concepts in economics, that is one of the basic hint that you can take economics as an optional. Okay, just like political science, the second paper of economics is descriptive, by the way. Okay, and remember, many things are overlapping. Like there are many things that we do in economics which are overlapping with the political science aspects, etc. Okay, you have done graduation from Christ University. Okay, in my college they mostly followed curriculum of abroad. What do you suggest should I take? uh, well, as far as curriculum of abroad is concerned, I don't think there will be any difference or much difference in paper 1. Remember, in most of the universities where economics is taught, when micro, macro economics are taught, these all are majorly the theories given by the non-Indian economists. Are you getting the point? Okay. So I'm sure, although I've not seen the syllabus. Okay. I'll give my email at the end. If you can share the syllabus with me, I can comment better on that. But I can reasonably assure that whatever micro, macro, etc., they would have done, that is more or less uniform, because I have seen syllabus of foreign universities also. Okay, many a times uh, uh, the teachers who teach at Delhi School of Economics themselves have done their PhD, etc., from US University, etc., and therefore the way that syllabus is put there is very similar. So micro macro syllabus is mostly drawn from the foreign university syllabus only. basically the second paper is more on Indian economy. And obviously there you will have to link more with the country called India. Okay. Economics as optional is more towards static or dynamic. I clarified, it's more static. Okay. Static in the sense syllabus or type of questions, uh, or even the material which is needed to answer those questions do not change year on year. Okay, just to give you an example, suppose they ask a question on, let's say, measurement of poverty. Now, most of the poverty measurement related discussions we have already seen, say, in 1980s India, in 1990s India, during 2000 to 2010, etc. There is nothing much dynamic about it. Okay, so even the latest way of measuring poverty at a global level has not changed much after, say, 2010 or so, which is a good 15 years ago. So what is dynamic there? Are you getting the point? Yeah, that is the reason I said most of it is the static portion. In paper 2, maximum 10%. When I say 10% also, I'm on the higher side. Suppose sometimes they give a very surprising question in paper 2 where there are more current affairs related questions, then I'm saying that they may give something like 10-15%, but even that is not common. And don't believe in me, you get previous year questions. Okay, previous year questions are readily available either in the market, in booklet form, or at the UPSC website. Okay, so do a little bit of your homework also. Go to UPSC website, download the last 2, 3, 4 years question paper of paper 2 and read it. In any case, you'll have to read it at some point of time. And let me know how many of them do you think are linked to current affairs. You will not see many. Okay. So that is what I was clarifying it here in the first myth that I said. Okay. Any other doubts so far online? Any offline doubts so far? Not yet. Okay. Yes.
How much economics, technical economics, and how much history things I have read in the
Okay, I'll come to that. I'm coming to the syllabus part. So I'll tell you how much of more technical part, how much of the other parts. Okay. Let's proceed. Okay, now we are doing the different parts of the syllabus. So we'll talk about paper 1 to begin with. Paper 1 is a paper on economic theories, as I told you earlier also. But I would repeat again, the word theory is also many a times misinterpreted. Okay, many students think theory means writing a lot. Sorry, theory means proposing some kind of a result, which can be descriptive also. But in economics, most of the theories are somewhat mathematical or graphical. Okay, we'll do most of them graphical. Remember, theories can be in other subjects also. We have theories in sociology, political science, geography, particularly in cases like, say, sociology or political science. Theories are in words only. Okay, but here typically the theories will be having some graphical interpretation, sometimes basic mathematical interpretation, not advanced, but very, very basic mathematical interpretation. Okay, these theories are divided in 4 parts. The first one is microeconomics. Side by side, I'm giving you a little bit of detail. Obviously, when we do the class, we'll go into more detail of that. Microeconomics is nothing but the study of individual behavior of economic agents, within which we will have 4 main parts. Okay, I think microeconomics is the largest part within the paper 1 also, and that is why we spend a lot of time on that. Even if direct questions may not come only from here, you will not understand the other parts without clarity on microeconomics. So in microeconomics, we'll do theories of consumers' behavior, the theories of firms. Second one is more important. If you go through the previous year questions, you'll see that There are more questions related to the market theories like perfect competition, monopoly, oligopoly, etc. Those who have background would be knowing about it. Theories of distribution. This is an area which is not covered by most of the students, even from economics background. Like I know that in the syllabus of DU, theories of distribution are covered, but in a very different way than needed here. Okay, like here we'll be doing theories given by economists like Nicholas Calder, Kalecki, etc., which are not covered in most of the syllabus in different universities. And then general equilibrium welfare theories. I know this is covered typically. Uh, we'll discuss that when we are going to do what exactly that means. Okay, this is the first part, the microeconomics. Second part is macroeconomics. Macroeconomics syllabus mainly, actually, this second part is having three things: macroeconomics, money banking, public finance. Although generally, when we do economics in any university, we put it in three parts. In the class also, we'll do it in three parts. Okay, but I put it here as the same because money banking, public finance are somewhat linked with either macroeconomics or micro. Like those who have economics background should be knowing money banking and macro are interrelated, and public finance is interrelated with microeconomics. Those who are well aware of microeconomic concepts like demand supply, they can understand public finance like taxation theories, etc., more easily. That is the basic idea. But the major part here will be on macroeconomics. Within macroeconomics, the schools of macroeconomics. Schools as in the thoughts, the different types of thoughts on macroeconomics, like Keynesian, even before Keynesian, classical. Okay, although Keynes was the economist who had formally started macroeconomics as a separate area, but before Keynes we had classical, neoclassical. Uh, Actually, in most of the universities, classical, neoclassical, Keynesian, monetarist, this much is typically done, but and sometimes a little bit of new classical, etc. But here in UPSC, there is more weightage given to the new classical, the new Keynesian, etc. So most of you perhaps wouldn't have done much beyond Keynesian or neo-Keynesian part, where we'll be covering a large part of that in the syllabus. That's why I was telling you that many of these parts are not covered in the syllabus of other universities. Okay, rest will take care of it, that within these schools how the different variables are interrelated. Money banking, I'm not writing anything, it's basically related to the theories of money multiplier, etc., which is very much overlapping with the GS syllabus also. Okay, public finance will include theories of taxation, public expenditure, subsidies, and so on and so forth. Okay, so first was micro, second is macro, third is international economics. Again, very briefly, we'll do it in detail in the class. Here, there are two fundamental parts: microeconomic and macroeconomic. So within international economics, the microeconomic parts are like on theories of international trade. Like whoever has done some economics would know about the Ricardian theory of comparative advantage, etc. Will begin from there. But again, in most universities, the old theories of trade are done, new ones are covered, are either not covered or covered very briefly. For example, in the new theories, we talk about the product cycle model, or increasing returns to trade theory, or intra-industry trade theory. I'm sure even those who have done economics may have not done all of them. In fact, questions come more from the new theories of the trade. Okay. Uh, then another microeconomic part will be impacts of trade protection related instruments, tariffs, quotas, etc. Okay. Then comes the macroeconomic part of international, which we also call open economy macroeconomics, where the basic macroeconomic that we did earlier will be extended in the open economy framework when the economy is linked with the other countries also. Then there are something which are combination of both, micro, macro, descriptive part, like trade blocks, monetary union, what do they mean, why countries enter. This area, and also WTO, okay, the World Trade Organization. These two areas are very, very similar to the syllabus that we also have in political science and so on. So even in PSIR, etc., a lot of discussion is done related to the trade blocks, the WTO, etc. Uh, Clearly, here our main focus will be on the analytical part over there. Okay, some of them will be descriptive as well. Then the fourth and last part of paper one is growth and development, where again we'll do the theories of economic growth like Harrod-Domer model of growth, Solow model. This is commonly done by many of the students, but again, every theory is not covered in every university. I cannot claim that what is covered and what is not, but again, typically say endogenous growth theory, etc., is not covered in much detail in many universities, which we'll be doing over here. Then comes some of the other things, like some of these theories will be linked more to the developing countries like India. Okay, then we'll do a number of links with economic development, like agriculture and economic development, trade and development, planning and development, uh, uh, sustainable development or environment and development, human capital and development, okay, like education, etc. Well, you will also realize by the time we'll do the later part of growth development, we will slowly draw a bridge towards the paper 2. It's like it is in the background of this that doing the Indian economy in paper 2 becomes easier. So you were asking what part is analytical, what part is more descriptive. In this case, you can say paper 1 is more analytical. When I say analytical, I don't mean mathematical. Mathematics will keep on playing its role briefly. Analytical mostly means graph based, understanding based. Graphs are essential. Okay, that's for sure. So micro, macro, international trade, and also theories of growth, they are more analytical part. So you can say roughly paper 1 75-80% is more analytical. Descriptive part of paper 1 will be only some parts of international economics like trade blocks, etc., and then this part of growth and development, where we'll do, but even here some parts will be slightly analytical. Okay, so largely paper 1 is analytical, understanding based. There will not be much historical aspects or descriptive aspects out there. Okay, and that is why say the students with science background, etc., find the paper 1 more attractive. Okay, the social science students find paper 2 more attractive. Let's okay, first of all, with before paper 2 one some more things over here. Although I was already telling you that that's a little repetition. Some of the features of paper 1 are it's a theoretical paper, not descriptive, that I clarified. Those of you who are not aware of what is theory, economic theory, under certain assumptions we see how the economic variables are behaving. Okay, actually for this reason economics is criticized a lot also, particularly among the background of science, etc., that your theories are on the basis of too many assumptions. Okay, what's the point? We agree. But what you should remember is, in pure science, theories are on physical things, which do not change their behavior generally. Economic theories is about you and me, human beings. And we are clearly more unpredictable than, let's say, air pressure or the temperature or other things, etc. And that is why without assumption, how do you give economic theory? It's simply not possible. But every mature economist is aware that assumptions are just to get an idea of how the theories are and what will happen if assumptions are relaxed. Okay, so that relaxation of assumption gives us that what will happen. Well, somewhere I will link it a lot with the pure science again. So that I've already explained that we are studying behavioral science. I would link it with the pure science in the sense that many a times the models that we do within the theories, there may be many models. That is very much similar to the science models, etc., where under some standard condition we are looking into the behavior. Just like that in economics, when we do market theory, I'm just giving an example. When we do market theory, we'll keep on changing the assumption. What if there are many buyers and sellers? What will be the behavior? What if there is only one seller? What if there is only one buyer? What if there are few sellers, not only one? Okay, so it's like looking into all the possibilities of that and analyzing what will happen in real life, which market condition will be there in which sector, that we cannot predict, but these theories help them in understanding pros and cons of it. Okay, one more thing about paper 1, how much it is needed in your GS part. I told you earlier that this should also be one of the criterion to choose your optional. As far as the prelims exam is concerned, some questions are always coming on money, banking, public finance. Okay, money banking is one of the most favorite area of prelims question setters. Okay, despite multiple surprises in prelims every year. Okay, at least this I'm finding as a consistent trend that related to money banking, they're asking anywhere between 5 to 7 questions, including, you will see it this year also. If you just go through the question paper of prelims, you will see questions on, say, comparison of UPI and digital currency. Okay, or let's say a question related to tokenization. Okay, or a question related to financial inclusion, which is again money and banking. So this year they have asked lesser questions in economics. Okay, not more than 15 for sure were there this year. Even then you will see 3-4 from money banking itself. Okay, and coincidentally this year they have asked only one from public finance, like on crowding out, etc. But if you see last year, they were asking many questions on public finance also, like on fiscal deficit, etc. So this block entirely, money, banking, public finance, mostly will be helping you answering around 7, maybe slightly more questions coming in prelims, which is quite a significant thing. And overall there are 15-20 questions from economics, but many of them can be more current affairs oriented also. Then as far as international economics is concerned, questions are coming in both pre and mains. Okay, we have seen questions around balance of payment, trade agreements, WTO, more in mains, but can be in prelims also. Okay, since whatever is happening in the global scenario at this point of time cannot be understood without basic knowledge about balance of payment, in any case you have to do it. As in, even if you don't take economics optional, many of these things are needed for your GS part. Then comes growth and development, which I consider very important for your mains exam. Many a times, if not a direct question being asked on growth development, indirectly you can use that in answering questions, where, like if there is a question on agriculture, okay, agriculture related questions are regularly being asked in paper 3 particularly. So if you have a background of agriculture and economic development, many a times the quality of such answer will be improving. Okay, similarly their planning is a part of syllabus of paper 3. Questions may not come every year, but if they ask a question on planning, your planning development link will be helpful. Sustainable development or environment and development is all-time favorite. Okay, in GS, even in optional, they are asking questions around that. So that is how it is important for the pre and mains. Let's now look into the structure. Okay, so what I'll do after doing this structure, again I'll take some doubts and then we'll do the paper 2 part. Okay, as far as the structure is concerned, more or less structure of every optional paper is similar. Few things are exactly the same. For example, the questions that you'll be having will be of 400 marks in all, but you have to attempt for 250 marks. Okay, So there are questions that you can leave. Okay, it's roughly divided equally between 4 topics. I'm talking about paper 1 here. Okay, 4 topics as in micro, macro with money, banking, public finance, international, and growth development. Generally, we have seen that many years there is a little bit more weightage of the last 2 parts, which is international and growth development, and that is also very sensible. uh, Anyone who is mature in economics would know that unless you are good at micro and macro, you cannot understand international economics. So if you are answering a question on international economics, it's a proof that you have done micro and macro. So rather than asking a direct question on micro, I may ask more from international. Are you getting the point? Okay. That is one of the reasons why I do not take test immediately. Suppose that I spend a long time on some microeconomic part and ask take a test on that, but that may not be directly coming in the exam a lot. As a base, that will be needed, but questions may not directly come. Direct questions come more from the later part, international growth development. Okay, although from micro macro also questions are reasonably good in number. Okay, particularly macro questions are clearly coming. There are 2 sections. This is true for more or less every optional subject, and even this part is true. Okay, in 2 questions, first you will have in one question there will be uh, uh, 5 compulsory question, and then in the second half again 5 compulsory questions. So 5 in each section are compulsory questions. Getting it? Uh, Generally, you have to answer it in 150 words. Okay. Why did I say generally? Because some of the questions are graph based or numerical or just needing some analytical, you can say, reasoning. There, even word limit is not needed. So many a times in economics, we have seen that they don't even write the word limit. Can you see that way you are a little better? For example, if you are just answering a question based on some mathematical aptitude, you may take much less time than you would have taken in writing down literally in 750 words. So that saves a lot of your time for the other descriptive questions. So in both the sections, there are 5 compulsory questions. In total, 10 compulsory questions. So 10 into 10, 100 marks questions out of 250 is compulsory. Okay, which is true for every subject. Uh, okay. Then comes the compulsory. Then one more thing on compulsory. They ask it from any topic. So there may be more compulsory questions from micro 1 year, from macro other year. It's highly unpredictable, to be frank. Why am I telling that? Because leaving any part of paper 1 is quite risky. Okay, leaving any part of paper 1 is quite risky. Hence, I take longer time to cover paper 1. So when I said that I'm spending around 6 months on covering the entire syllabus, nearly 4 months will be spending on paper 1. Yes, 3.5, 4 months maybe. Uh, there are many reasons for it. Graphs, etc., take time. Okay, when I draw it in the class. Okay, uh, that doesn't mean we will ignore paper 2. Okay, paper 2, which is more descriptive, coincidentally can be covered quickly. And remember, when you do paper 2, many a times if you have a good background of theory from paper 1, then understanding that area will become easier. Just for example, suppose you are aware of the theories of foreign direct investment from paper 1, then understanding FDI policy in India becomes easier. Okay, that is another reason why paper 2 is generally less time taking, because the background of paper 2 is also coming from paper 1. Okay, in fact, I may have given it later also, just to inform you one more thing. Some questions which are asked in paper 1 expects you to give example from Indian economy, which is paper 2. Even if they don't ask and you give example, if it is relevant, that will give you some extra marks. Okay, because that shows that this student is not just memorizing that theory, but also giving example which is real from the economy. Similarly, in paper 2, when you are writing answer on Indian economy, if you can quote some theory of paper 1 which is connected, like some theory of growth which is connected with Indian economic growth, that is often rewarded. Okay, that's a general information that I wanted to share. Okay, coming back. What about the remaining questions? There are 5 remaining questions, out of which you have to attempt 3. Okay, uh, in sections A and B. So only 3 need to be done out of total as in 6, but 3 have to be attempted. One question must be must be attempted from each section. So yes, since there is one question, so generally we have seen, again there is no hard and fast rule, that in section A of paper 1, the choice based questions are from micro and macro. So in the compulsory one, they are more unpredictable, but mostly they will give micro macro money banking. In the optional questions, they generally give micro macro money banking, public finance and first. And then in the second section, most of them are from international growth development. So yes, to some extent you can realize what is your better area, and therefore you can plan a little that you will attempt 2 from say section B, and let's say only 1 from section. But even then, leaving any part is quite risky in this case. Okay, often word limits are not there. Same reason, in most of these questions graphs are needed, some mathematical orientation is needed, so there is no point having the word limit in any of them. Okay, any general doubt? So then we'll be ending up with the last part, the paper 2 part. I think 1 or 2 is there. What would be the frequency of classes over a week? Would you be teaching us the whole course? Yes, so far I have been teaching the whole course. Okay, future is not known to anyone, but so far I've been taking it whole. By chance, if someone else also comes in, the major part as in 90% or so at least will be taken by me only. Okay, so so far you can take it as 100% only. Frequency of classes will be anywhere between either 5 days a week or 6 days. Okay, it will depend. Since I also take classes in GS, as most of you know, sometimes we have to take care of that also. But you don't need to worry about as such. What I have seen personally is that since there are many parts which are technical, particularly in paper 1, many students actually prefer a couple of days for revising what they have done over a week. Okay, so that way 5 days a week works well. But depending upon the situation, if we are lagging behind, let's say we may even make it 6 days a week. So definitely minimum 1 day off will be there, possibly 2. Okay, be ready for 5 days a week because you'll need some time for revision, etc. also, whatever we are doing, because although generally you are provided with the recorded video, but that may not be available for a long time. In fact, I would strongly advise that either you attend the class offline. Okay, offline according to me is best, because face to face when you are drawing graphs and other things, that is always best. But I know some of you due to some reason are not able to attend it offline. Then I will strongly advise to attend the live class online rather than the recorded lecture. Okay, recorded lecture should be your something like the last resort. By for some reason you are sick, or there is some very emergency situation that you couldn't attend, otherwise it is advisable. Okay, so that's general thing I told you. Which topics will consume most time and give the highest marks return? I'll keep on telling you. Okay, those things are to be done when we start the class. Don't worry about it. In fact, even this much of detail typically some people do not prefer at this point, as in the details of syllabus. That I'll keep on telling you. Okay. Any other doubt? I can't see. Will there be any separate guidance for RBI Grade B exam? Not as such, but many parts of syllabus are overlapping. Okay, so whenever they are overlapping, automatically you are preparing for any other competitive exam. For example, there are some more. Even in economic service, by the way, there are some parts which are overlapping. Although economic service syllabus is much more vast than this, but there are some parts which are overlapping. We will focus on the UPSC Civil Services exam syllabus. Coincidentally, if any other part gets covered, well and good. But even if not, you can talk to me personally if you need guidance on some specific area. Even if I cannot do it literally in the class, I can surely advise you where to read and what to read. Okay. Why selection is minimal in economics optional? Well, one reason is that there are lesser number of aspirants only. Okay, you know the very base is very low, and that is why obviously selections will be lower. There is another reason somehow that I have seen, that typically those students who clear prelims exam with and they are going for economics optional, from there the success rate is very high. Okay, so most of those economic students who get rejected, they are rejected more at prelim stage. Okay, after clearing prelims, the chances of success becomes better. Okay, I may not give you 100% you can say correct answer why that is the case. Possibly one reason is that in prelims there are many questions which are highly memory based. You have to mug up a lot to clear prelims, and economic students are generally not very good at that. Okay, they remain more analytical in their approach, and perhaps that is a problem that come in prelims. That is why I keep on telling right now also and later also, that till the time you sit in prelims, forget that you are having economics optional, even if you have. Okay, prepare it just like any other student. Okay, and then after that is cleared, you should be changing your way of preparation. Okay, book list I'm coming to. Okay, so if there is any other doubt offline so far. Okay, so your other part of answer comes now. Analytical part was in paper 1. More descriptive part, or what you call historical part, starts now. So paper 2 is linked to Indian economy. There are 3 main parts. Okay, first is pre-independence Indian economy, or we also call it economic history. Okay, where you are supposed to know about Indian economy under the colonial rule, particularly from roughly 1857 till 1947. So roughly a century before our independence is to be known. Although when I will cover this part in class, I will start even before that. I strongly believe that as much you go backward in a history somewhere, you remember what is happening later. So roughly our discussion will begin from, let's say, even 18th century. Very briefly, that I'll cover in the first one and then focus more on this. The best part is questions are more predictable from this area. Okay, for example, commercialization of agriculture, drain of wealth, deindustrialization. I'm sure most of you would have heard of it also, because these areas are also part of your history syllabus. So I was telling you that how relevant can economics be in your GS. This part overlaps with your history syllabus, the modern history syllabus. Generally, when they are asking questions in modern history, particularly in GS mains paper 1, one question is on economic history. Okay, perhaps because the examiner thinks that within history, economic history is a little difficult. So that is why in mains you will typically see one question linked to economic history, mostly from one of these areas. Okay, that we would have done in much more detailed manner than even history students. Okay, added with the data, etc. In most of the history classes, these things are done in just a descriptive manner. We will add data to that, and when you quote those data in your GS paper also, that clearly gives an idea that okay, this student is a more serious student of the economic history. Okay, that I already explained. Okay, one more thing before I so pre-independence part is this. Uh, Before I go to the post-independence part, I'm coming to that. Uh, Economic history is something that everyone should do in detail because the questions are more predictable and even some of them are compulsory. So one question was asking that with minimal effort, where do we get higher marks? In paper 2, I think economic history is one such case where with the minimal effort you can definitely get very good marks because many questions are always being asked. Questions are very predictable. Second part is related to the post independence. Post independence, when I say, I mean till 91. Okay, till 91, as in where we do economic planning, national income accounting, or how was the agricultural sector, industrial sector, etc. in pre 91 economy. Okay, the trends in national income, per capita income, how sector wise composition was there, inequality, poverty, etc. Okay, generally about 100 marks question come from here also. Okay, with 2 3 compulsory questions. So again, just like I was giving you uh, a common pattern of question in the paper 1, here in paper 2, generally the first section is based on these two parts, economic history and post independence pre 91, and then the entire section B, which is the remaining 50%, is connected with the post 91. Okay, this is the biggest part of the paper 2 where we do post 91. Topics will be similar like agriculture, industries, trade, investment, public finance, but we will do all this in the post 91. 91 was the year of balance of payment crisis, all of you must be aware. Hence, in most of these sectors, not all, many reforms were taken up by the government. And that is why post 91 sectors are very different than the pre 91. Okay, one more general information. When I will cover any of these areas in class, like when I do agriculture, then first of all, I'll cover economic history separately. Okay, but once I start with post independence, then I will take one area and cover throughout, as in pre 91 as well as post 91. I think that is a better way to have a continuous discussion on that. And also don't forget, some questions are also asked where they expect in the same question the student to write pre 91 comparing with post 91. Something like poverty measurement pre 91 versus post 91. Or let's say industrial growth or reforms pre 91 versus post 91. So I think topic wise discussion is always more systematic for this exam. Okay, minor detail will take up when we do. Okay, these are all the same detail. Apart from agriculture, investment, etc., monetary system, banking, planning, employment, inequality, poverty. I told you this already. About 50% of weightage is from post 90. Okay, roughly the entire section B. But again, just to surprise you, they can keep on changing that. Like sometimes I have seen in section B also they have asked a compulsory question from economic history. Okay, that just is to keep on putting some surprise to the students. Okay, and this is also the part where most of the GS questions come. GS questions where whether it is in paper 2 or in the paper 3, that comes mostly from the post 91 part. I know you will say that in GS they are asking more on current affairs only. Well, they do, but not necessarily. That is also a myth about GS. Okay, that if you are good at current affairs in economics, you will do very well in GS. Not necessarily. Sometimes they do ask questions on current affairs, sometimes on traditional part. Okay, look into the questions in the last couple of years. You will see questions like discuss about social sector expenditure by government uh, uh, over the last few decades. Okay, that is not a current affairs related question at all. For that, you need a broader understanding of post 91. So basically, if you are having economics as an optional, you can also handle the GS questions of economics, means I'm talking about, with a better confidence. Because sometimes in mains exam, they ask more current affairs based question, sometimes even traditional ones, sometimes a mix. Okay, you will be better able to handle those surprises if you are having economics as an optional. So that was my uh, basic goal to tell you here. Okay, structure somewhat similar, but still I've given it here, similar to paper 1. Again, two sections, A and B. I told you this actually. A mostly is on pre and post independence, B is mostly on post 91. Okay, so this is like a repetition. I go further. uh, Relevance of this paper in GS, just like I talked about the paper 1 relevance, uh, the relevance is more in the mains exam. Paper 2 relevance is more in the mains exam. Okay, and just to give you some general idea, we have seen around 60-70 marks questions in paper 3 which are linked to economics. Okay, sometimes it may be interlinked with other subjects also, like geography. Remember again, that level of predictability no one can give. Even in paper 3, they ask interdisciplinary questions like linking economics with geography. So that much I'm counting in, say 60-70 marks. Sometimes in paper 2 also we have seen 30-40 marks question. uh, Again, that is unpredictable. Some year they may not, some year they can, because in paper 2 they are asking questions linked to governance, sociology also. Remember, paper 2 asks questions related to social issues, political aspects like governance. Wherever economics and that is linked, they can ask question on that. And as I told you, even in paper 1, 10-20 marks question mainly linked to economic history, sometimes even linked to social or geographical issues. Mostly I have seen in paper 1 link of economics with history, but you never know. Sometimes on inequality they can ask, or from geographical areas like industrial relations. Okay, so if you take a sum total, uh, say around 100 to 130 marks, at least around 100 marks of questions that you attempt in GS mains paper is where economics is directly or indirectly important. Okay, so that makes the subject quite important for your mains also. As far as essay topics are concerned, although economics topic are rare, let's be frank on that. Okay, pure economics topic in essay is rare. Sometimes they do ask a topic where economics and sociology may be mixed. Like sometimes if they ask an essay question linked to poverty, etc., or even if there is an abstract part, you can link it with economics. It's not necessarily economics topic. I agree, on essay unpredictability is even more. Okay, uh, if you want to understand what am I trying to say, have a look at essay topics being asked in last 2-3 years. You will yourself realize that the topics are actually becoming very very uh, unpredictable and very you can say confusing sometimes. So where economics may not be of a great help, rare exceptions can be there, however. Therefore, what we understand overall is that apart from some of the independent questions, many questions are linked with economics, like sociology, public administration, geography, history, even international relations. By the way, question in GS may be on international relation, but your answer will be better if you are aware of the international economic background. Okay, so when you are handling questions on, say, India relation with ASEAN countries, or India relation with European Union, or Indian relation with USA or China, etc., they do not appear like economics question. Okay, but the core idea behind all these relations are generally economic considerations. Okay, you will see a lot of that. Most of the relationships, good or bad, are determined by economic pattern, okay, rather than the others. Okay, it's not suddenly one day that the Venezuelan president comes and decides to meet the PM of India. Okay, there are clearly some economic considerations which are being there. Okay, so when you realize that, you will realize that a lot of international relation questions are also fundamentally linked with economic aspects. Okay, and beyond all this, the idea is that studying economics makes you so logical yet humane that you can handle any kind of such area which is being asked in any part of the question. By the way, sometimes in paper 4 also, which I'm not writing here, paper 4 of GS is completely unique paper, more of ethics related, etc. But remember, sometimes there also there is link with economics and ethics, etc. You cannot rule that out completely even in that case. If you have done your welfare economics, etc., very well, in some case study based question, you can have a better way to answer that question, thinking of economic welfare and so on. Okay, so all in all, these are the basic idea that I had to give. Someone was talking about the book list or the reading list, which I'm giving up here. I may keep on adding something when I will take the class, like on my, I'm talking about paper 1 first. In microeconomics, one of the best books is Modern Microeconomics, written by Kotsenis. It's a very old book. Okay, the book was written way back in 1970s. Okay, and once upon a time, it used to be in the syllabus of DU, etc. Even before us, when we were student, even before us, it used to be in syllabus. Okay, somehow it is considered very outdated, but for UPSC, I think this is one of the best reference for particularly market theory. Okay, there is no other book than Kotsenis which does so much of justice to the market theory, like perfect competition, oligopoly, monopoly, even welfare economics. So some of the big blocks in microeconomics are done very well over here. Then there are a number of other books. I'll keep on telling you. Okay, I'm not writing each and every part over here. One book is by H.L. Ahuja, although this book has to be used with caution. Okay, personally, I don't like this book too much because it's a very, very thick book. If you, any one of you have seen it, and some of you may be scared when I write it here. Okay, I should have written selected parts. Okay, in the sense that H.L. Ahuja book on microeconomics is like including almost anything that you can think of in microeconomics, much beyond the syllabus of this exam also. So, in the class, I will tell you a few things that you can do from H.L. Ahuja, because you will not get it from anywhere. Okay, neither Kotsenis, not some of the other standard books, like there is a book by Hal Varian. Okay, although I have not written here, but microeconomics by Hal Varian, that used to be in the microeconomics syllabus of DU when we were students. I think no longer. Okay, but that is also an excellent book. So there are a few parts of this syllabus which is not anywhere except H.L. Ahuja. Then only I advise. But then if you are attending the class, it won't be a problem again, because in any case we are doing it in the class. Basically, this reading list to a great extent will not matter if you are joining the classes, because end of the day your class notes itself will be so comprehensive, you may not need to go to these books. Still, some students prefer reading books, so I have to tell them. Okay, you know, there are different types of students. Some of them are not satisfied with what they have done in the class only, they want to read more. So for them particularly, when it comes to macro economics, Freund, R.T. Freund book is the best one. Okay, although the book is written by a foreign author, coincidentally it almost overlaps with the syllabus of this exam. More or less every chapter of Freund's macroeconomics is like the syllabus that has been given in UPSC. Okay, hence one of the best books. But one more advice here: if you have done economics from any other university and done some of the good books, as in some of the renowned economists have written those books. You can use them also. Are you getting it? So, like in macroeconomics, some people do the books by, say, Dornbusch and Fisher, or there are other economists like Blanchard. Okay, they are equally fine uh, if you are comfortable in that, because theories will be similar. Different authors have different ways of giving that theory. The theories don't change. Okay. Again, HL Ahuja for those parts which are not in Freud for some reason. There may be some rare cases. So then the HL Ahuja. HL Ahuja macroeconomics also includes money banking part, by the way. But then for money banking, there is another book called Monetary Economics by S.B. Gupta. Again, a very old book, no longer syllabus in most of the university. Uh, for public finance, Musgrave and Musgrave book is good, but again, this book is very detailed one. We need only a part of it. Okay, actually, one more thing. There are few areas in paper one where any of these readings may not be enough. Like one is public finance. Unfortunately, on public finance, we do not have one book where syllabus is covered. So that is where classes will be very helpful to you. Okay, I'll keep on bringing whatever is relevant from different books or papers, etc., and then discuss. Clearly, for money banking, etc., you can visit RBI website also and look into some of the details. Okay, still paper one. For international economics, the best book is by Salvatore, Dominic Salvatore. So I think Freud and Salvatore are two books which are very, very important, covers major part, like Freud macro and Salvatore international economics. These two books should be there with everyone, whether you join my classes or not. Anyone who is appearing for economics as an optional, minimal reading should be the entire Salvatore and the entire Freud. Other books are still selective. Okay. Again, for macroeconomics part, even Freud part of open economy is needed. And then for the last part, trade block, WTO, many a times a lot of material can be seen from the websites also. Some part is there in Salvatore, some part from the website. But again, in the classes, we'll do much more than that. For example, my WTO discussion particularly, I can guarantee that it will be one of the most comprehensive compared to done anywhere else. Okay, because WTO has been very well connected with the paper 2 also. So we do a lot of discussion around that. Just like public finance, in growth development also, getting one reference is difficult. Although I've written 2, 3, they are all selectively needed. Like one is the book by A.P. Therwal. The name is Growth and Development with special reference to developing countries. Other is Economic Development by Todaro and Smith. And third is Development Economics by Debraj. Okay. But remember again, no one should read entire book like these three. It's like for separate part of syllabus will take up selective parts. So maybe one growth model will refer to Therwal. For another growth model will talk about Debraj. Okay, so if you are attending the class, obviously you can handle that. But this is another area where getting one reference is difficult. Okay. As far as the other parts are concerned, like human development, etc., we'll also look into parts of human development report or reports on environment and development, etc., on which also questions are regularly coming in. So this is about paper 1 reading list. It is not exhaustive, but still includes the major part of that. Then for paper 2, although the reading list appears shorter, okay, like for economic history, one of the most standard book is by Tirthankar Roy. Okay, Tirthankar Roy is a very well-known economist with London School of Economics and has written a book on economic history of India. Apart from that, I will give you selected parts of some other economic history books. So we are not talking about them here. As far as the post-independence economy is concerned, there are many books actually. One lesser known book is a book called New Oxford Companion to Economics in India. This book comes in two volumes, edited by a very well known economist, Kaushik Basu. Kaushik Basu was ex uh, chief economic advisor to the PM. Okay, I don't know if you have heard of it. Under the UPA government, Kaushik Basu was the main economic advisor, and he has been a well-known academician also, so he has edited it. The best part of this book is here Kaushik Basu includes the articles from the very expert in a particular area. So in this book, when you read say article on banking sector of India, that would have written by none other than someone who is like worked as RBI governor for a long time. Okay, so it's like you can rely a lot on that. Okay, then this book is again very famous, Indian Economy Since Independence, Uma Kapila. I'm sure many of you would have heard of it. This book is largely the summary, not summary, almost simplification of whatever readings are there in DU. So Uma Kapila used to be a professor at Miranda House, and for a long time she has been writing this book since we were students also. Okay, what she does, whatever readings, articles, etc., are in the DU Indian Economy, she puts it in a simpler format and publishes it in the form of a book. Okay, that's again a very good book because all the articles are coming from very noted economists. That is why I'm prescribing these two. But then, and obviously some parts of survey, economic survey is needed. Uh, uh, Even if we do not do surveys separately all the time, we'll keep on quoting some of the results from the survey when we do the paper too. But apart from that, there may be a number of other things like some of the reports given by RBI, Niti Aayog, PIB website, PRS website. These things you sometimes do for GS also. Okay, even for covering from some GS part, you look into the PIB or PRS websites. Sometimes in optional also it will be helpful. And then beyond that, many other articles, selected articles from business newspapers, journals like EPW. For this, don't worry, I'll keep on giving you. Okay, I'll keep on giving you some of the relevant articles from EPW or from some of the business newspapers also. In fact, the business newspaper articles are like an ongoing thing. Okay, as the areas of discussion keep on changing in economics, accordingly these articles are important. Okay, so that is about the paper 2. And that's it. Just a quick conclusion, then I'll take all the doubts that you have. So overall, what we conclude is that it is an ideal optional for definitely those who have economics background, but anyone who is preferring a kind of a mix of scientific approach with its application to Indian economy. It has been relatively highly scoring. In fact, as I told you once, people clear prelims. It has among the highest success rates in this exam. Okay, people are not visible from economics optional just because the number of aspirants, etc., itself may be relatively less compared to the other so-called popular optionals like PSIR, anthropology, etc. Okay, and finally, if you look into overall average, roughly 1/5, 20% of weightage across GS papers is where economics is important, be it prelims exam, be it the mains exam, okay, or be it even if essay may not be always having that, even in the interview. Okay, typically in the interview also, the questions on economic issues are regularly being asked from non-economic students also, but if you are having a background, all the more. Okay, and as I told you, beyond all this, it helps you to think like an economist in your career, in your exam, handling certain surprising element in a more analytical manner. So that is where I would like to finish with my presentation, whatever I had to do. And I now again go back to you to have any doubt. By chance I have missed something that you wanted to know, we'll discuss that. Okay, we start optional class tentatively from 1st July. Okay, that is the plan so far, that from 1st July will be starting the classes, it will be at 11 o'clock. Okay, so that is also to tell you that by chance, if some of you are in GS batch of 11 o'clock here, you can request the management, they can shift your batch. If you have just started particularly, uh, uh, I'm sure they will help you shifting the batch so that you can attend the optional classes. Okay. How much marks typically come from numerical? Very less. Okay. Normally, I have seen in entire paper one, they ask one numerical. Okay. Roughly of 20 marks. So it's like out of 250 marks question, 20 marks. In rare cases, slightly more, but definitely not more than 25, 30. If I remember correctly, there was only 1 year where they had asked a question in compulsory question, okay, in the 10 marker, where you needed to use a little bit of mathematical argument. Other than that, compulsory questions are mostly non-numerical. But one more thing to clarify, even if non-numerical, you may need a kind of aptitude. I'm giving you one example. Like anyone who has economics background would have done ISLM model in macroeconomics. One of their common questions is like, uh, if this happens, then how will the slope of IS curve will change or LM curve will change? Well, it is not a numerical, but then unless you know that, let's say, what is the equation of IS curve or LM curve, you cannot handle that. But once you realize that, then it becomes very easy question. Perhaps you will solve that question in half the time that you would have spent had you had to write it in words. Are you getting it? So economics optional many a times gives you a lot of opportunity to save time in answering some question. And that time you can utilize in answering some more descriptive question later on. If I struggle with mathematical economics and econometrics is not in the syllabus, just to clarify. Basically, econometrics is combination of statistics with economic theory, which is completely not in the syllabus of UPSC. It is in the syllabus of Indian Economic Service, by the way. Okay, but here in our classes, we'll not do econometrics. Although very interesting area, okay, a very practical area of economics, but here you will not be needing it. And even in the name of mathematical economics, it would be maximum to maximum needing concepts like basic differentiation. Okay, it is not like mathematical economics that they teach at DU. Okay, or maybe at some other university also where they put a lot of mathematics into the economics. That much is not needed. Still, majorly, paper one is graph based. That's what I was telling you earlier also. As I told you, I always advise you to be offline. Okay, because the kind of learning that we have face to face may not be compared with online, but up to you, depending upon your choices. I'll leave it to you. Don't worry, there will be no discrimination with online students. Okay, as far as coverage is concerned, as far as material is concerned, yes, it can only be that the material which offline student get today, the online may get it after a week or 10 days due to the postal process, etc. Other than that, there will be nothing, you can say, differentiation between them. How many months? I told you, be prepared for 6 months at least. Okay, to be frank, because paper one is time taking if I give justice to everything. Let's be fair on that. Okay, if I'm drawing graph myself from scratch every time, it has to be time taken. But then it's like you are getting a lot of those things in the class itself. So what is the point that I cover syllabus in 4 months and then you have to do a lot more work? It will boil down to the same thing. So 6 months minimum, be prepared. By the way, we also do discussion on PYQs. I forgot to write it here. Okay. Uh, Generally, after every broader area that we complete, I spend whatever time is needed on PYQ. Like when I complete microeconomics, we'll do PYQs on microeconomics in the class. Similarly for macroeconomics and so on and so forth. Okay. Because many things which we could not cover in the syllabus as such may be covered in the PYQ discussion. NCRT, which book? Micro and macro. Okay, there is nothing more beyond that in NCRT. So you can have a, but remember, that is like a basic reading just to see whether you are interested in economics. Statistics not needed. Statistics not needed because I know there is a book on statistics which is in the syllabus of 12th level standard, okay, in economics, but here statistics is not in course. Well, it's another matter. A few basic statistical concepts will always be helpful to you in this exam, okay, like simple average or weighted average. That much of statistics will need, okay. I'll tell you when I'm doing it, but I'm sure most of you would be knowing that. What minimum level of preparation at which you will advise a student to keep economics optional rather than switch? Again, how do I decide that? Well, what all I can say is that if you are not very sure, you can come to the class, okay. Even if you don't find that this subject is for you, I'm sure the management here will help you shifting to the other. Okay, basically, it's easier for you to shift from economics to others rather than vice versa. Why? Because we'll have only one batch on option. Okay, typically for most of the other subjects, there are minimum 2 batches, sometimes 3. So, for example, if you joined economics but then later on realized that no, I had to join PSIL. Okay, that option will always be open for you because there will be after a few months again a PSIR optional batch coming the same year. That won't happen for economics, however, because since I'm doing it single-handedly and I'm doing it without any rush, I'm taking only one batch throughout the year. Okay. Okay, you can come and meet me here in the staff room, no problem. Okay, fine. I've given my email ID over here. You can note down. And if anyone wants to meet me, you can send me a mail. Take some time according to the timetable, and that's it. No issues on that. Okay. I cannot exactly tell you time right now because the exact timing of my GS class or RGS class keeps on shifting. So on some day I may be more free in morning and on the other in afternoon. So I'll let you know. No problem. Yes, I'm only teaching the economics optional here in this part. Okay. I had studied macro from Mankiw readings in DU. Should I expand on that source? Yes, for sure. That's what I was trying to say. Mankiw is one of the most well-known new Keynesian macroeconomists. The only problem with selected sources in macro is following. Let me explain you that also. Whenever an expert from some school of macroeconomics is writing a book, like when Mankiw writes a book on macroeconomics, obviously he'll give more importance to new Keynesian theory because he himself is a new Keynesian economist. Are you getting the point? Similarly, if someone is writing a book who is more of new classical economist, in his book there will be more focus on that. Okay. So again, in the class when we do it, we'll do it without any partiality. Okay. So all these books are good. Okay. But there will always be some more weightage given to one area or the other, depending upon where that economist belongs. Mankiw is very well known economist, but then he's more into new Keynesian. Okay. 10th and 12th class economics We should study and not statistics. Exactly. Basically, 10th doesn't contain much of it, if I remember. You can go through parts of it. 11th and 12th will also be fine. Okay. 11th and 12th NCERT as a basic beginning will be fine. But my advice will be, once you have made up your mind, this is to make up your mind whether you should choose your optional or not. Once you have made up your mind that you are going to choose it, then I will not even advise you to read a lot. Because what happens when you are reading a particular book, you get you get kind of swayed away in one particular area which may not be asked in the exam a lot. Just to give you an example, when microeconomics is covered in many universities, like in DU, many a times half the semester they keep on teaching, say, consumer behavior. Okay, which is very interesting, I agree. But in UPSC, direct question on consumer behavior is not very common. Maximum they ask one question. So that way I don't want that you spend a lot of time on doing something which is not being asked. So when we do the classes, I'll also keep on telling you that from which area questions are coming less, from which more. Accordingly, our time spent in the class will be determined. Okay, where the questions are coming more, we'll spend more time. Okay, I told you tentatively will begin from 1st July. Okay, 1st July will be the beginning of the course. Okay, 11 o'clock. Although I'm sure if you are connected with the management, they will share that with you. Okay. Anything else? Online doubt, I can't see any. Yes.
Sir, do we need to read economic thoughts, like thoughts of the people mentioned in the syllabus,
Like,
like data by Dorothy?
to the extent it is a part of syllabus, you will need to. Like you said, Dadabhai Naoroji's view on economy, it will be needed automatically when we do economic history. I hope most of you know drain of wealth theory is given by Dadabhai Naoroji only. Since drain of wealth is in the syllabus, obviously you have to do that. Similarly, since you asked that question, there are many areas where we'll do Amartya Sen's view. Okay, Amartya Sen is one of the most multi-talented economists of all times, including economists elsewhere also. Okay, like when we'll be doing paper 1 syllabus, we'll do a little bit of Sen's contribution in welfare economics, not a little bit, quite significant. Again, when we do human development, human capital development, Sen's contribution comes. When we do poverty discussion, Sen's contribution comes. So, as a part of syllabus, when economist contribution comes, obviously you should be aware. That doesn't mean you have to do each and every one's contribution. Are you getting it? Again, previous year questions will be giving you a fair idea that which economists generally contributions are required. Okay, and I'll keep on telling you that in the class also. Okay, particularly Amartya Sen has been all-time favorite of question setter here also. Many a times they have asked questions directly on, okay, what is Sen's view on this and that. So clearly, anything that you are reading on Amartya Sen is valuable. Rest, whatever, whenever it is needed, we'll keep on telling you.
How much reliability will be on numbers, data?
Not in paper 1. Data will not be required in paper 1. It will be required only in paper 2, and yes, that will be needed. So generally in my GS classes, I tell that do not memorize too much of data, because at least till the prelim stage, data linked questions are rare. Okay. Even in the GS mains, some questions can be data based, but generally not more than 1 or 2. Okay, rest is up to you. In GS, when you are writing something, up to you whether you can code data. But in optional, some questions are directly data based. For example, in post-independence economy, a question which has been asked very often is, discuss the trends in GDP growth rate in India since independence. So clearly it is a data-based question where you have to write down the numbers. So don't worry, I'll give you many tables in paper 2. Beyond a point, you will be asking that, do we need to remember all this? Okay. But my job is to give you a little extra. Okay. So that even if you don't remember everything but some of it, it can help you in the exam. So I'll give you a lot of tables on GDP growth, employment, like share of employment sector wise, and many more. Okay. Let me come to that. Even in economic history, as I told you, when we do the areas like deindustrialization, we'll quote some data which will show whether there was deindustrialization or not, or the commercialization of agriculture was there or not. Okay. In fact, even if you remember half or one fourth of that data and use it in your GS answer also, that will give you some extra marks. Okay. That's so data will use in optional. In paper 2, memorizing data will be needed. So let's repeat it this way. The most important thing in paper 1 is graph. In paper 2, there are two things. One, how do you structure your answer in words, plus how much you memorize data. Both will be important in paper 2. Your writing skills, okay, the structuring of that, plus the data points. So yes, data will be needed. Yes.
That, as you said, we need to memorize data. Can we get those data in advance so that we can prepare, or those data are keep changing?
No, they don't generally keep on changing. As I told you, data doesn't mean only current data. As I told you, if they ask a question on discuss trends in GDP growth since independence, say for 3 decades, there is nothing current affairs there. They are asking you, tell us about GDP growth in 1950s, 1960s, 70s. They are never going to change. Well, I can give you it in advance, but data should always be discussed in a context, okay, in a background. That will help you remember better. Like whenever I put a number or data in my class, I will not just throw that data to you and say, go and mug it up. I will give you the story behind that. So that is why it is better that I should give you when I'm doing the background study. Okay, that is always better to do that, so that you can see the picture behind that. That will also help you memorizing it better. I hope you got it. Okay. Data can be current affairs based also, but in optional I have not seen questions on that. Okay, in optional I have not seen much current affairs data based questions. Okay, not even in GS for that matter. In GS case also, whatever current affairs data etc comes in, something like what was fiscal deficit to GDP ratio this year, or let's say how much was the balance of payment surplus or deficit this year. Okay, they don't ask direct questions. Even if you have a rough idea, that's more than enough. Okay.
Do we also need integration?
No, there is nothing on integration part of calculus. Even in differentiation, basic differentiation is needed. Mostly first degree, sometimes second degree, but less common. Okay, something like so it's like first degree differentiation will be enough in 80-90% of cases. Maybe in 10-20% cases something else will be needed. How does it matter? Someone who understands first degree will also understand second degree with one step ahead. Huh.
When we come, as I am able to understand single graph easily, but when we combine two or more graphs, it gets difficult to understand.
No worries, we'll do in the class. Sometimes we do single graph, sometimes we do graph comparison also. Okay, depending upon the situation. Okay.
I am bringing two graphs in the same plot, like ISLM.
Exactly. So when we derive IS curve, for example, we will do a 2-panel graph. Yes. In fact, in some macroeconomic discussion, we may even go into 3 or 4-panel graph. Rare. Don't get scared. Okay. It's rare only in macroeconomics, but by that time, you would have done so much of graph that it won't scare you. Okay. I still think macroeconomics graphs are easier. Okay, most of the graphs in macroeconomics are like straight lines. aggregate demand, aggregate supply, ISLM, they're still easier to draw. Difficult graphs come mostly in micro, particularly in market theory, like in monopolistic competition, etc. I would say some of the toughest graphs come. So depending upon the tougher part of it, we'll also spend enough time on that. Don't worry about it. Okay, we'll spend enough time so that you kind of absorb it. And as I told you, I will give you informal hints also. Okay, now, that how should you draw it. Okay, these are the areas where classes will be some of the most important, because otherwise those graphs you can see in other textbooks also. Okay, but those textbooks will never tell you how step by step to draw them. Okay, so these are the areas where classes will be very, very productive to you. Okay, and that's why I draw all these graphs, no matter how much time it takes in the class itself. I will never kind of draw graph at my home and just bring and reproduce it in a PPT before you, okay, and tell you this is there. Okay, that I will never do, whether it's a simple or a tougher graph. Okay. Anything else? Yes.
In paper one, that question, analytical question, that will be a straightforward question or application based.
Mostly straightforward, but you know, time to time they keep on surprising you on few issues. Okay, this exam, wherever you appear, be it prelims or GS, is about handling surprises. Although I think still any optional subject, not just economics, uh, uh, writing the answers for two optional papers is perhaps the least surprising part of this exam. Okay, uh, yet sometimes a few surprises can be there. Okay, I'm sure if you are in the habit of handling surprises of your GS part, optional will be nothing.
How much will you be preparing for application also? Or
Application based questions are less common. Okay, most of them are straight away from the theory. Okay, uh, but they do ask, but generally we can identify that from which area they are asking application based. Accordingly, we'll spend more time on that in the class. So wait, when we do it, I'll accordingly tell that. Okay, I cannot exactly tell you everything from the beginning, but when we do it, we'll tell that. In any case, since after every part we are doing PYQ, okay, so it's like we are building a wall. Okay, brick by brick, we'll do the syllabus, put the cement. But you know, first time when we put the cement, the surface is not even. Okay, so that even surface will come when we do the PYQ discussion. Wherever minor gaps here and there are left out, PYQ will take care of it. Don't worry about that. Okay, and most of the PYQs are repetitive. Sometimes one or two surprising question, but most of them are repetitive in nature. Okay.
what
And
is that duration of regular classes?
sorry,
Duration of regular classes.
I told you 6 months.
Daily.
Duration, okay. Daily 2.5 hours, the same as GS class. 2.5 hours, so 11 to 1:30 will be the duration. Sometimes plus minus a little, mostly plus, not minus. Sometimes if we have to cover syllabus, I may call you a little earlier also. Uh, uh, Generally, I don't take double lectures on a day because it becomes heavy for both you and me, because in GS it is still manageable, in optional it's a little heavy. Okay, because we are doing technical parts, so uh, there may be a little bit of extension or calling you earlier, but on an average 2.5 hours will be the duration of a class. Okay, where can you find the answer sheets of the toppers? I'm sure most of them maintain their own websites and share that also. Okay, so that you can get it from there. But again, just a clarification, just because someone did very well in one exam is not a guarantee that in any particular question paper he or she will be doing equally well. So that is where the class discussion will be more comprehensive than any of the class notes, etc. Okay, I told you generally 5 days a week will be the classes, maybe 6 days sometimes. That I'll keep on telling you. So at least one off day I'll fix, I'll let you know, so that if you, because, and generally we'll have classes on weekends, definitely, as in Saturday, Sunday, we definitely have a class. The reason is that generally I have seen some of the working professionals also do the optional course, who are often free on Saturday, Sunday, and therefore they generally want to attend the live lecture or even come for offline. So keeping that in mind, I do take somewhere in the weekday, I would be giving you 1 or 2 days off. Okay, so let's see that. That I have not yet decided. Okay, I think that is a question amongst yourself. Any other online question? I can't see any new one so far. No one. Okay. Do we have any other set of questions? Earlier there used to be someone from Zoom meeting, etc. No, not yet. Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Do we have any specialized answer writing practice sessions?
Okay. I'll give you some model answers. Okay. And then I'll be evaluating you in the test and then accordingly comment. Okay. As in, when we do the PYQ discussion, automatically that is like answer writing. Okay. But then in paper one, the questions are typically straightforward. Even in paper two, they are relatively straightforward. I can help you, I can guide you that through the model answer. If you want, we can have a class on that separately. But mostly in paper one, I have seen it's like explain this and that with the use of graph and so on and so forth. So I'll keep on telling you what to do, what not to do in that case. Okay. So mostly in PYQ discussion itself, that will be included. What you are telling, the answer writing session will be included. Even if needed, that should be needed more in paper 2, where the descriptive part is more there. Okay, not in paper 1. Well, economics and mathematics are very different, so I'm not sure how do I advise you on that. But if you have done economics in graduation, if it has been done from say DU etc., I'm sure you have done a lot of mathematics also. Both are unique subject in their own. Okay, so in mathematics it will be just about your. So why don't you also have some communication with the a teacher who is doing mathematics optional? I'm sure she will also guide you a little bit on that. And if possible, you can meet us here also and get some more minor doubts cleared. So unless I know that why you are getting confused between the two, perhaps it won't be possible to guide you. How to compile notes written in the class and printed? Okay, I'll tell you. Okay, that I'll keep on telling you. So on certain parts where I feel that one book is not enough, the material that I give you itself will be very much connected with class notes. So there will be 4 sets of material that I'll be giving you, 2 each in paper 1 and paper 2. Okay, but particularly in paper 1, when I'll give you material, on some area where there is a very standard book which is enough, then I will not give you material, because there is no point then remains. Already that book is enough. So for example, my material on microeconomics will be more comprehensive and given by me than on macro. Why? Because on macro we have a standard book from. Okay, so in any case, if you are doing it, there is no point repeating the same thing. Okay, end of the day in class will cover most of it. So at least from my point of view, particularly for paper 1, if you just have class notes, then even if you don't do any other material, it should be enough. As far as paper 2 is concerned, by nature it is slightly more open-ended. Okay, although there also I tried to cover as much in the class as possible, but it is slightly more open-ended. There you can take class note as the core, and I'm sure even if not enough, it will handle say 70-80% of your questions. For the remaining 20% or 15%, you can link it with some of the materials that I give you. Like it may be EPW articles, it may be say chapters of Uma Kapila book, and so on. So that is the basic idea. Okay. Can't see any more doubt again. Yes, you have a doubt? No. Okay. So if there is no other doubt, then we stop here. In any case, it has been a long discussion. By the way, even if you get some doubt later on, you can mail it to me. You can meet me in person also. Okay, if you are coming here for the classes of GS, etc. And hope it has been of some help. Okay, the mail ID is here. It's shyamsunder14@gmail.com. SHYAMSUNDER14. Okay, so you can drop a mail if you need some specific guidance, etc. 1st July, 11 o'clock. Hopefully, I'll be meeting most of you and many more who could not attend this, but I'm sure they will be interested. Okay, so that's it from my side. If I'm still waiting for a minute, if you have some other doubt, particularly online, offline, we can talk in general also after the workshop. Not yet? Okay, so then I think I managed to answer most of your doubts. Thank you very much. Meet you at say 11 o'clock, 1st July. Thank you so much. Thank you.